Another very important aspect of programming is knowing how to increase or decrease some number by some value. So this is called incrementation, where we increase this value, or decrementation, where we make it smaller. So let's get into it. Let's just create some new empty and create new script. I'll call it just incrementation, but you will know that this is about incrementation and decrementation. But before I move to the script, we have to assign our script to the object that we created, because if we didn't, then it won't work. Okay, so what is incrementation? This is an increasing the value of some variable, let's say, or some number by some value. Let's just define some variable of type int for now. Int, and let's call it a counter, and let's assign a value of 0 to it for now. And now we want to add 2 to it. Not just make it 2, because we can easily just assign a new value to this counter like so. Maybe you can use counter and equals 2. So that should probably do the same thing, but this is not the way we want to do it. Sometimes, of course, but not in this case. We want to increase this value by 2. We have to use the same variable and add 2 to it. So we have to write it something like that. Counter plus 2. So how it works? To this counter variable, we are assigning the same variable increased by 2. So here is 0 for now. So we increase it by 2, and then the 2 is assigned to this variable. So from now on, there will be 2 in this variable. So now let's say we want to increase it even more. So we are typing the same thing, and we are using counter plus 3, for example. So now this counter holds 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 is assigned to the counter. So now the value of counter is 5. But what about decrementation? We are doing this in exactly the same way. Just copy it, and instead of plus sign, we are using subtraction, like so, and it's working the same way. Multiplication, no problem. Exactly the same thing. Just use a multiplication sign. And now we are checking what's the counter value, and just multiply it by 3, and then the whole result just assign to this variable once more time. The incrementation and decrementation is so often used that there was created another way of doing it, a shorter way. So how to do the same thing as we did here? Maybe I'll just put it below so you can see it clearly. We just put counter and plus sign equal and the number we want to increase it by 2, like so. So this and this line are meaning exactly the same thing. What about, maybe this is exactly the same, so I will not make it again. What about decrementation? We are just using the pattern we used above. We want to decrease this value by 3, so just use minus equals 3, like so. Multiplication, no problem, the same stuff. Counter, multiply equal 3. So let's just focus and think what will be the value of our counter at the moment. Look, we are starting from the 0. So here we are increasing this value by 2. So at the moment there will be 2 in our counter. After that we increase this 2 by another 2. So here should be 4. Now we are taking away 3 from it. So 4 minus 3 is 1. Next, we are taking another 3. So it should be minus 2. And here we are multiplying it by 3. So minus 2 multiplied by 3 is minus 6. And now we multiply it once more by 3. So it should be minus 18. So let's see if we are right and just print our variable in the console, it should be minus 18. So just save it and go to Unity, open the console tab and press play. And as you can see, this is correct. Okay, so let's go back to the code because I need to show you even simpler way, but this way will be incrementing and decrementing value by 1. This only applies when we want to increase or decrease the value by 1. So we can just put a counter plus plus and that's it. We'll just increase it by 1. You can't just put another plus, so you might think, oh, this will increase by 2. No, it doesn't work this way. We are using 2 plus signs to increase by 1 and there is no other way. Just use it this way to increase by 1. You can't add anything to it. And the same applies when you want to decrease the value. So you just put 2 minus signs and that would decrease by 1. This is how we're going to use it. I don't know which form is more acceptable for you. At the beginning, when I started learning programming, this was the best way for myself. After a while, I started understanding how to use this form. And of course, if you're using incrementation by 1 or decrementation by 1, this form is the most useful and this is the way you will see on internet everywhere. And this method is used by others as well when you increment or decrement by the value different than 1. I didn't really see any code when somebody was using this form, the longest one. Even if you put this form in Visual Studio, it will show you that you shouldn't really use this form. You should use this shorter one. So for beginning, you can of course use it, but it's good to move on to the shorter ways as soon as possible. And the last thing probably to show you with the incrementation would be division, which is exactly the same as multiplication. You just use the division sign instead of multiplication and that would do. So I just delete all this stuff and show you some nice trick. We can just show this incrementation in our update method so that every frame the counter value will increase by 1. So in update method we can increase counter, so like counter plus plus, and now we can print it. So print counter. And now if we go to Unity, you can see that our numbers will go up very quickly, like so. It will show you how many frames are being executed in 1 second. So if you take like, I don't know, 30 seconds and start your stopwatch and just clear it and press play and start your stopwatch, and after the 30 seconds you can compare your result, how many frames were rendered. I will do it now and we'll see how big number do I receive. 3, 2, 1, go. And we've started from 20 seconds, so we are waiting when it will be up to 50 seconds. So there will be a 30 seconds in total. 3, 2, 1 and stop. So I've got 7045. This is how powerful my processor is. We received 7000 in 30 seconds. So if we just use a calculator, divide it, so just do it, 7045 divided by 30 seconds. So I've got 234 frames per second, which is not bad. Of course, we are not doing anything, just displaying only the number in the console, so this is not really something to be proud of, but it's not too bad.